Everybody. So I make a lot of these videos, and I try to make a lot of well-reasoned videos where I present different arguments. One of the big arguments is that you should fund my startup, and and that I have ideas that are actually valid. But people generally have about a 10-second attention span, and it's very difficult to tell a scam from somebody who is sincere. And and the sad truth is that 9 times out of 10, actually 99.9 times out of 10, an innovator gets screwed over by people who are much more socially adept. And I am, yeah, I believe an innovator, and I don't want that to happen to me. So uh, I'm this video, I'm taking a little different tact. I'm starting here with Captain Awesome over here, right? Right. So that's Donald Trump, of course, and uh, Donald Trump is widely disliked and deservedly so. But um, what he tells me is more about society than himself. He is like a test because in this article specifically that we're looking at is actually about autism. Um, so he's been saying that autism is caused by vaccines. I guess he's been saying that for for years. Sorry, but now he's not saying that anymore. So um, I'm autistic. I am on the mild. I have a mild level of autism, which is it's called Asperger's syndrome for years, and now it's just called autism. And Donald Trump, Captain Kickass over there, he is also definitely 100% autistic. So I understand what the way that he thinks and what he does. So uh, people with autism are um, they're not trapped in their own world, but but they have an internal experience that's a lot different from most people. I guess you can never quite tell if your red is the same as another person's red, right? It's just this abstract idea. I think that many more people are autistic uh, than we would imagine. Certainly, I've been undiagnosed for years, and there's a couple different ways to think about it. And I've talked to a number of people. Again, let's point to Captain Kickass over here because I don't want to lose your attention. I know this is going on a little bit, but just give me a second. So I've talked to a number of people that also have this autism, and the our number one issue is fitting in, blending in, and not offending you, right? So Donald Trump, he just offends people, right? And what he's doing is he's disrupting the system because again, autistic people have an internal system that they understand the world in a certain way, and so um, what he's doing is um, he's causing great social unrest, and this is especially people with Asperger's. If you can't communicate with the outside world, then you don't really have any effect on it. But if you're autistic and you can communicate, you have two choices. One is sort of pretend that you're not autistic and blend in, and the other is just not do that. And so that's what Donald Trump does, which is interesting. Um, he, he he is about disruption more. So that the words that he says, the things that he does, uh, are not. They're of course they're lies, right? They're totally lies. Everybody understands that Donald Trump tells lies, and people count Donald Trump's lies, right? But Donald Trump, Captain Kickass over here, is not, no matter what he does, it's not enough to break most people out of their fear of change. And autistic people, I think, don't maybe don't have the same fear, and because okay, here's something to think about. It's sort of a given that the way the world works is through with the assistance of many small white lies, right? A lot of little lies, like um, this job's going to be great for you or whatever. You'll get ahead or make it when in reality, um, often the if you understand the bigger system, then then that's not the case, right? The way to really get ahead is to work for yourself, or to have people work on your behalf. I've worked in the computer industry, and so we have computers that work on our behalf. But if you work for somebody else, then sort of you're still sort of screwed, because no matter how good you are, you're just a commodity, and you have to compete with your coworkers and even the person you're reporting to. So it's very limited in that way. So Donald Trump is a disruptor that disrupts the system like this, and that's his job. And most people, I would say, argue that you know he needs to not be supported, right? He is totally a criminal in his behavior. I mean, that's obvious. He broke the emollients clause from day one. So, but 4 years later, he's still in office. And what this tells me is something that I already knew, is that the system is broken. Um, and and again, as an autistic person, when you see that the system that the world operates on is broken, your first goal is to try to fix it. So you come up with these ideas and solutions and things, and when you present them to everybody else, you enter this world of little white lies, and I guess for an autistic person, that's the most striking thing, is you have something really important that you want to say, but you have to frame it in a way where um, it can be discarded. So uh, here's an example. And let's move the picture from Donald Trump over here first of all to this guy. Okay, so this guy is the polar opposite of Donald Trump in many ways. This is Nick Hanauer. He's one of the 0.01%. And if you listen to what he says, especially in this video right here, this 20-minute beware fellow plutocrats, the pitchforks are coming. So this video was created um, many years before Donald Trump was, I believe, sort of moved into power. Um, and his basic point is that the system, which is really designed to reward the wealthy, has succeeded to a degree that now there's not enough people with enough money to buy the stuff the wealthy people want to sell, right? So, and that's a problem. Uh, half of the country doesn't have any retirement, and many people in the world are worse off, right? So we're not in a good place. I would say that if it's not obvious to you, let's go back to Captain Kickass here. If it's not obvious to you by the actions of this guy, Donald Trump that the world is broken. See, that's the main thing he does is show us that the world is broken, right? Because he's a criminal that we can't remove from office. And the reason why is nobody really cares. I mean, you really care, but see, and this again is the autism, and this is probably why um, it's difficult to hear someone like myself actually talk because I'm radically honest. If other people were radically honest, Donald Trump would not still be in office 4 years later. Uh, your state representative, your state senator, your you would have marched into these people's office and said, we need a change. You would have, but what we do is we pay lip service to ideas. And here's an idea that I talked about a minute ago that I want to touch on. So many of you know now. It seems like I'm really focused on this idea of cryptocurrency, right? Which is scary because lots of people get ripped off by that, and non-technical people don't understand if they're about to get ripped off or not. So they assume that someone like myself is lying, and someone that seems honest is telling the truth, while often the reverse happens, and that's how people get screwed. So before this cryptocurrency idea, I thought to myself, and I said, well, um, the systems of religion, of churches, um, are very enmeshed in society, especially here in the United States, in the South, and they do have a role in social cohesion. But it would appear that most people don't actually believe the things that they say. And this goes back to all these little white lies, right? Right, right. So you can be a preacher, you can go to church, and you can say, oh, I believe in God. But because nobody actually cares, um, uh, nobody follows up on that. And believe me, nobody actually cares. It's just a game. And I understand this intuitively because as an autistic person, this is the game that you're expected to learn and figure out and play. And so what happens with somebody like Captain Kickass over here is, you know, uh, once you figure out the game, you figure it out in an entirely different way. And the way that he's figured it out is very manipulative, um, because he's simply playing on people's emotions. But what his purpose, and he was sort of put in place for a purpose, and his purpose is to disrupt the system. It's to push the system past the breaking point, which seems like it would have been easier. It seems like it would have taken less than 4 years to do. But the reason why it's taking so long, and it may not happen. Chances are he's going to be reelected for another 4 years, and it's going to be another 4 years of people that don't really care. Just you pretend to care, but you don't. Complaining about this guy, right? If you haven't walked into your representative's office and talked to them about it, you don't care. You don't care. If you go primarily to um, protest with your buddies, you don't care. You don't care. Anyway, so uh, I've been back to this religion thing, right? So I've been an atheist for many years, and I've been a part of the atheist community. And it strikes me that it's probably better to um, label myself as a secularist than an atheist. And through secularism, uh, we can all sort of work together to achieve something, which is not at all sexy. It's not nearly as much fun as complaining about Christianity. But atheists, like most other people, don't really care, right? Um, and here's an example: is so so I say, oh, okay, well, we should create our own. sort of secular religion, and and I present this idea to people, right? Because by doing this, you're using the systems that that are in place. You're just as Donald Trump is using this. He's pushing the systems to change. So if you want to change religion, you become a religion. Okay. If you don't want to change religion, and it's counterintuitive, but again, this goes back to these little white lies we tell ourselves. If you if you want to change religion, you become a religion and you practice it in a way that upsets people. And apparently you can do this for decades and people will pretend to be upset, but they won't actually do anything about it, right? So I believe that we need to start acting differently in this country, doing things differently, because the government is broken. Um, how do we know the government's broken? I would say all three branches of the government is broken. Donald Trump is a criminal. The the Senate and the House, I mean, it's so political that um, he that Donald Trump is going to be exonerated. I mean, I don't think anybody believes that impeachment is going to matter. Seems like it's going to help him, if anything. And I don't see a Democrat that um, truly addresses my concerns. And let's go back to this other guy here. So so this guy, he is he is one of the richest people in the world. He's in the 0.01%, and he's saying basically the system is broken. Um, uh, Everything is quickly going to we're descending into a police state. Now he said that before Donald Trump was in office. Now Donald Trump is in office, and I think it's pretty clear we are in a police state. Um, and but it does. But still, that's not enough to wake people up, right? Again, um, most people in this country are still at this level where you complain about somebody like Donald Trump, but you don't care enough to change things in your life, right? It's about stability versus disruption. And this guy right here, he is the great disruptor, Peter Thiel. And it's interesting because he talks about startups, and he talks about what startups succeed and what they fail. And as I listen to him, I see many things in what he says that are ideas that I have, and so I simply need to keep pushing these ideas until I get more acceptance, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I mean, so uh, my basic idea is that we can augment the money system using cryptocurrencies, and you can put messages into the cryptocurrencies in ways where you don't have to pay a third party to do things for you. Within the world of cryptocurrencies, um, just like everything else, there's this idea that blockchain technology can disrupt things, but people don't really want things to be disrupted. People are pretty comfortable where they are. In the 0.01%, the 1%, the 10%, the 50%. Most people are comfortable where they are. Um, and again, it goes back to these, you know, it's sort of in vogue to pretend that you're not, but most people just want to, they just want to do their job and watch TV. That's where most people are. Again, to somebody that's autistic, this is insane, and so you're trying to communicate to folks in a way that just doesn't make sense. So this system right here shows that you can. It's a way to use cryptocurrencies differently. Um, and so, if anybody's interested in this space, what generally happens is instead of adopting something like this or even listening to me, you go with the charlatan who will have lots of credentials because nobody understands what the fuck John's talking about here. Let's face it, right? but if somebody comes from a college and they have a doctor's degree and they present ideas asking for money for their large and development team, you'll give them money, right? But not this, which is a challenge that I think true innovators have. The main problem with this system is that it's not obvious how to monetize this. Um, I, um, I think the way to monetize it is by building out nodes and all sorts of different stuff. So I think there is a way to monetize it, but the danger for me is that I'll give up trying to convince people to even look at this. Um, because let's face it, nobody cares. 10-second, very small attention span. Um, most conversation is peppered with these little white lies, especially when it's a topic that makes people nervous, right? For example, a whole group can agree that Donald Trump is an idiot, but um, they can't. But beyond that, there's little substance or little action, um, and whenever you present and so he presents attention is his main job, and he was actually sort of put in place by this guy by Peter Thiel, who is he is also I would say in this autistic. He's in the same space, and his stated purpose in supporting Donald Trump was to kind of shake up the system because it's broken. The system is broken, and that's something that autistic people are focused on more than um, I guess people who aren't on the spectrum, right? So because everything is a system. I mean, it's sort of what autism is about. Is uh, you think in this automated fashion, and so it's difficult to connect in casual conversation because when you're doing that, you're doing it only in hopes of getting somebody's attention long enough to discuss a bigger idea that you've spent hundreds of hours thinking about, and they haven't, right. So no matter what you think about dime cash, right, whatever you think about this, uh, which it shows exactly. People say, oh, um, uh, uh, you know, what, so what you're trying to say is it might be possible one day to do something like this. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's already done. I've done this. You can see by looking at this website, you can see that I am doing things in a very different way from how other people are doing things, which was not difficult for me to figure out. What's difficult for me to do is get people's attention, get people to stop telling me that I'm doing things wrong, um, and and get people to actually look at what I'm talking about. And so part of that's on me, and I'm figuring that out. But more importantly, it's goes to the core of this struggle between I would say people who are uh, you know been traditionally categorized as having Asperger's, and everybody else, because you want to discuss things like this, or you want to discuss, as I said, before that, and this plays into um, uh, the ideas that I've had in the past, because with a system like this, you could map a, a church system or social networks into this blockchain. So it's not just about money; it's also about. In fact, it's primarily not about money. It's primarily about a record system that can't be faked. It's interesting. I put a post out on my Secret Beach Solutions website, and the first comment was, "Oh, yeah, this is a great way for criminals to operate." No, that's not true. Most criminals use cash, um, and most people don't actually want to understand things, and so the commenter was able to justify turning his brain off. That's what most people want to do. Especially, let's go back to the picture of Captain Awesome here. Especially, when you're dealing with somebody like this, most you want to run away from the cause of the anxiety. But the truth is that um, the best way to get out of the system is not by protesting against Captain Kickass here, but by simply creating something better, better than the broken federal government, better than the broken way that we work, the way that we reward companies, and the way that most people don't succeed, right? So something better is completely possible, but it's not possible um, uh, if everybody's still sort of telling little white lies about what is and isn't. I know this is running on a long time, and I know these videos are supposed to be short again because you only have hopefully Donald Trump here helped to make this a little interesting for people. But that's the bottom line is that you gotta wake up. You get and I think that's the reason why that's the main struggle between, I would say, somebody with autism and the rest of the world, is that people with autism see solutions in a different way. They map the world out in a different way, and they're not happy there with the world that's not it's not right. And most people are perfectly happy with the world that's not right because um, they just don't care. Most people just don't care. Like I say, you pretend to care, but you just don't care. So, I don't know.